As we all saw on Monday Night Football, Aaron Rodgers went down with that Achilles injury. The Jets really had a chance to make some noise in the NFL this year, and with that injury, it's now going to raise some questions and concerns for this Jets season. Let me start off with the fact that I really feel bad for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets organization, and I wish him the best in his recovery, and I hope this isn't the last time that we saw him on an NFL field. With that being said, it's now time to turn to Zach Wilson again here in New York, and with this injury happening pretty early, Zach Wilson actually got a decent amount of playing time on Monday night, so I wanted to get into what we saw from him and what the Jets can expect from their third-year quarterback if the Jets do not elect to add a veteran for the season. With that being said, let's get right into it. I think before really getting into it, I want to point out that the Jets really had the run game going for them in this one, and it really fueled them offensively. Early and often, Zach Wilson was very conservative with his approach and frequently taking the checkdowns and underneath routes, trying not to be too risky with the ball. With that being said, we still saw Zach Wilson taking some downfield shots. Seeing a Zach Wilson that's more willing to take the underneath play and being selectively aggressive was a pleasant thing to see, as we did not see that from him very much in his first 2 years in the NFL. On this first play that we're going to look at, it's honestly the most impressive play that I saw from Wilson on the night. We're still in the first quarter here, and we're faced with 3rd and 11. We just used some pre-snap motion to identify the coverage on the back end, and we identified that it's zone coverage. To the field, we're going to have this post and in-route combination. Wilson gets to the back of his drop, one hitch, and rips this ball with anticipation to Allen Lazard for a big gain on 3rd and long. Look when he separates his arm to make this throw. This is impressive and something that we have not seen from Wilson at this point in his career. I can't remember the last anticipation throw that we saw from Zach Wilson. Plays like this are what gives that hope that maybe Zach Wilson has taken those steps that he's needed to take and not all hope is lost with him. Watching it from the end zone angle, we can see some good and some bad from Wilson mechanics-wise. We'll start with the good. At the back of his drop, we see Wilson's going to take this natural angled cant late in the drop to align himself to his target without giving up where he wants to go with the ball. This is good, this is smooth, and this is better than what we've seen from him in the past. But where we get away from him as far as mechanics-wise is going to be in these hitches. The footwork isn't ideal, as when he sets up, he's going to bring his feet together to load up before making this throw. This is something that we've seen from him previously, and clearly something that he still needs to refine here. Having this kind of footwork impacts accuracy and makes it harder to be consistent with ball placement. You want to see him keep that nice, strong base, approximately shoulder width, all throughout the drop, but he doesn't on this one. Moving on to the next play, Wilson doesn't like what he sees at the back of the drop, and we're going to get pressure off this edge. It looks like Shaq Lawson to me, which is a shame because if Lawson doesn't get pressure here, we can see that Dalvin Cook is actually going to be coming free on this short little in route for the first down, maybe even a touchdown. But we aren't able to get there, but he is going to climb the pocket, roll to the left, and when he's rolling to the left, this defensive back is going to squeeze the line of scrimmage to defend from a Wilson scramble. At this point, Cook flashes open again in the corner of the end zone, but we're not able to get our feet set and get a clean ball out on time. Wilson sees this, gets the ball to him, but it's over his head and incomplete. At the end of the day, this wasn't a bad play by Wilson. I like to see the movement skills, and I like to see him not pushing the issue and trying to do too much and risking a turnover. Just get the ball out, take the easy chip shot field goal, and move on. This next play is a tough one to watch. Wilson's going to be targeting Cobb over the middle of the field on the shallow post. His eyes start to the right to Lazard on this crosser, but he doesn't like it, and I don't really understand why. He's open. Is it a modest gain? Yeah, absolutely. But it's 1st and 10. Take the gain, keep the offense on schedule, and move on to the next play. Instead, he's going to take his eyes to Cobb on the shallow post, and I think he completely misses Matt Milano underneath. Cobb is not open, and it's not even close. You can't make this throw. Wilson is intercepted here, and Buffalo now has the ball in Jet territory. To me, watching it from all angles, it appears that Wilson's just going to go too fast on this one. He gets off this shallow cross too soon, which is his first mistake, and the second, at this point, the protection is good. There's no reason to force this throw to Cobb. One of two things happened, and neither one of them are good at this stage of Wilson's development. Either one, he misses Milano underneath, and he thinks he has Cobb open, and there's a vision issue, or two, he sees Milano, and he thinks that he can fit this in there using his arm strength and get it in here between the two defenders, and there's a decision-making issue. Like I said, at this point in Wilson's development, either would be a concerning excuse of why this happened. I lean that he's just going too fast, and there's a little bit of a vision issue here. It is nice to at least see him get in on the tackle to clean up his mess here. Moving on to this next one, we're going to rip a slant here to Garrett Wilson for a gain of about 12 yards. At the back of this drop, again, he's going to do a good job of aligning himself to the target. But again, he's going to bring those feet together on this load up. It doesn't matter on this one, as Wilson's able to rip this one into Garrett Wilson with good accuracy and ball placement. Garrett Wilson's able to make the catch as he goes to the ground for a first down. This was a nice throw by Wilson, but again, that footwork can be cleaned up a bit to be more accurate and more precise with that ball placement moving forward. On the next one, we're going to be faced with 3rd and 4, and we're actually going to be running mesh with these two crosses, and then 83 is going to be running the over the ball route. I actually like how we get into this because this crosser coming from the top actually is going to get a little bit of a natural double rub action by both the tight end and then the other crosser. As we let this run, we see the contact point. There's going to be all kinds of confusion and congestion, and we're actually going to have both crosses running free. But Wilson has pressure early and is forced to step up. As he climbs, he sees Lazard coming open, but his feet get tangled up and he begins to fall. While falling to the ground, he's able to get this ball out to Lazard. Great play here while falling to the ground. This was a very nice conversion on 3rd down. Moving on to this next one, Wilson's going to be targeting Garrett Wilson on this little out route to get them inside the 10-yard line. This time, Zach Wilson actually gets to the back of his drop and shows great feet, finding that strong base underneath of him and rips it to Garrett Wilson for the first down and takes the Jets within the 10-yard line. I think it's important to put this play in here to show that Wilson knows what he has to do with his feet. He does it on occasion. It's just inconsistent and we need to see it more frequently. On this next play, we get to see a little bit more of the mobility from Zach Wilson and what he can bring to the table at that front. At the back of his drop, he doesn't like what he sees. He steps up in the pocket and sees some green grass and uses his legs to take off. He breaks down his pace and tries to make a move, but ends up going down after a gain of about 5 yards. This play isn't anything special, but it does show that when given the opportunity to climb the pocket and use his legs to extend the plays, he's going to do it. Wilson does have above average athleticism, and in previous seasons, people forget that he's had several runs of 20 plus yards. This next play is the last play that I have from this game, and it's the one that everybody's already seen by now. It's the incredible catch by Garrett Wilson. On this play, it was said after the game that this was designed to be an RPO, but Wilson decided pre-snap to throw this up to his young stud wide receiver Garrett Wilson on this fade route and give him a chance to make a play. This ball is thrown up as a true 50-50 ball, basically right down the middle between Garrett Wilson and Trey White. Ideally, this ball would be more towards Garrett Wilson's back shoulder to keep this defensive back from being able to get a hand on it. But it doesn't matter. Garrett Wilson is able to go up, snag this out of the air with one hand, and come down with it. This was a phenomenal play by Garrett Wilson and a risky one by Zach Wilson. But obviously it paid off for the Jets here. Easily the catch of week 1. At the end of the day, it was announced Aaron Rodgers is going to be out for the rest of the 2023 season with the Achilles injury. If Wilson is a starter for the rest of the season, I think the Jets might be in for a rough go of it. Yes, that defense is elite, but if they can't get going on offense, they're not going to be able to score enough points or sustain enough drives to make something happen this season. The Jets are really going to rely on that Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall combination out of the backfield, as well as that elite defense to win them some games this year. I do think they should consider, at least consider, making a move to acquire a veteran to start the rest of the season, like a Jacoby Brissett or an Andy Dalton. Maybe even make some calls on some older quarterbacks on rebuilding teams like Kirk Cousins or Matthew Stafford. I think all of those names are at least worth kicking the tires on. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for checking it out. Let me know your thoughts on the Jets situation in the comments or on Twitter or X or whatever it is to you. If you like this video, please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, or hitting that bell to get the notifications when we drop new content, and giving us a follow on Twitter, on X, or again, whatever you call it. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.